Ladies and gentlemen, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles!
What is Motown? Motown music is the sound of young America and has broken down the barriers between black and white popular music, says Berry Gordy Jr. Motown was a living room recording studio created in the 50s and 60s and has brought to life thousands of new songs, hundreds of artists, and some new music genres.
Motown was created on April 4, 1960 by Berry Gordy Jr. Berry Gordy Jr. originally owned a record store called the 3D Record Mart, House of Jazz, but it soon went bankrupt after having little business. After it went out of business, Berry Gordy Jr. tried to debut his own album, but it was unsuccessful. After he decided he wanted to produce music rather than record it, he got a loan for $800 to start a new record recording company called Motown Records. Motown's first two albums included Hi, We Are the Miracles, and The Soulful Moods of Marvin Gaye. It also included some music by Stevie Wonder.
Berry Gordy Jr. had an eye for talent, says music artist Smokey Robinson. Once at a talent show, Berry Gordy thought the performers, originally named the Matadors, had some real talent. Berry Gordy Jr. pulled the band off stage after they were done performing and asked them if they were interested in signing a contract with his new publishing company. The band agreed and later changed their name to the Miracles. The artists in the group also became very famous, including Smokey Robinson, Johnny White, Pete Moore, Clarence Dawson, and James Grice. Some other successful bands were artists promoted by Motown are Michael Jackson, Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Marv Johnson, Shorty Long, The Commodores, Stevie Wonder, and many more.
Berry Gordy also had an extraordinary talent for singing and songwriting. Despite his few failures, Berry constantly wrote songs, submitting them to magazines, contests, and singers. His first success as a songwriter came in 1957 when Jackie Wilson recorded Reet Petite, a song he and his siblings had wrote. Reet Petite became a modest hit and netted Berry $1,000 for the song. Over the next 2 years, he and his siblings wrote 4 more hits for Wilson: To Be Loved, Lonely Teardrops, That's Why, and I'll Be Satisfied. Berry later chose the title To Be Loved for his autobiography. Successful as a songwriter, Berry decided to produce his songs himself. His first production was titled Ooh Shucks by the Five Stars, which was released on George Goldner's Mark X label in 1957.
Berry's first production for the Miracles was titled Got a Job, which he leased to Goldner for release on End Records. In 1958, Berry produced a record by Eddie Holland titled You, which was leased to Mercury Records. Also that year, Kudo Records issued 4 more Gordy productions, 2 of which are significant to the Motown story. The first Marv Johnson release titled My Baby O, and a Brian Holland vocal titled Shock, with Smokey Robinson and the Holland brothers. Berry had discovered 3 incredible songwriters and producers. Gordy decided to take total control of his songs, so on January 12, 1959, he borrowed $800 from his family's loan fund to start his own producing label called Tamla. The first release was Marv Johnson's Come to Me. United Artists picked up the song and it became an averagely popular hit. United Artists signed Marv Johnson to a recording contract, and Berry Gordy continued to produce him for that label. In 1959, Marv Johnson's You've Got What It Takes became his first production to break into the pop top 10. Motown was a revolution. As scholar and critic Daphne Brooks describes it, Motown's look was about affirming black dignity and humanity amid the battle to end American apartheid. The revolution of Motown started when Berry Gordy Jr. moved from his old apartment into a 2-story house, of which he would turn the first floor into a control room and a lobby, the garage into a recording studio, and the basement into an engineering department. This building was later named Hitsville, USA.
Motown was a revolution because African Americans, in a very racial time period, became the musical leaders of pop.
Back then, a lot of like when the really early R&B stuff was coming out, it was deemed really wild by the white community. And like Randy that works here, he's even told me that they wouldn't play it on most radio stations because even though like now when you listen to it, it sounds like kind of goofy doo-wop, but it was just really like different and wild back then. And I think that Motown kind of brought that kind of music more into the mainstream.
Motown had over 90 pop hits, all with African American artists. Civil rights also affected Motown. Motown's first few productions did not show African Americans in any way because no whites would purchase the music. Berry Gordy's intentions were for his music not to be heard by only African Americans, but heard by all of America.
It's very hard to find words to say about people who are as successful as these next 3 artists. They have topped the charts here and in the States, and possibly in Outer Mongolia. I'm sure everywhere in the whole wide world people know this. They've had big records like Where Did Our Love Go? And of course Baby Love and Come See About Me. And here's their new one, Stop. In the name of love, it has to be the Supreme. In the name of love, because you break my heart.
Motown was the living room recording studio started in the 50s and 60s and has brought to life hundreds of artists, thousands of songs, and a few new music genres.
It's probably influenced so many different genres of bands, like probably from like punk to like just pop music, whether they know it or not, you know, just like that, the Motown rhythms.
Most of modern music may not even have a shelf life if it were not for Motown records, and no music will ever compare to the effects that Motown has had in the music community in the past 50 years.